It's not for 4K, that's for sure. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So for 4K, it's still. I don't even think that portable 490 is gonna get the job done. You know what I'm saying?
So are you saying that after seeing it now, after seeing the device and seeing it in action, you're now more convinced that possibly you'd get it?
Yeah, no. After watching his review today, I'm day one. I'm day one.
Even for the extended
Yeah,
plug-in thing? For
yeah,
real?
yeah. Like
Wow.
he sold me on it completely, and he got the GPU that I'm aiming for, which I told you. I mean, I got some credits
Mhm.
and stuff in Best Buy, which is gonna bring the price down significantly. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna get the full package, dude, and I'm gonna set that thing up. It's gonna be in the living room. I'm calling it the grown man switch. That's what I'm calling it.
Well, all right then. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the playground, the Gamers Playground. I am your host, Kay Asante. You can find me, TKO Asante. It's listed right there, exactly. And I'm joined by my host, the illustrious one, the jet setting, Mr. John Wolf. How you doing this evening, sir?
Dude, I'm doing so good, man. I'm so excited to be here with you, Kay. We've been planning this for what seems like months already, brother.
Mm.
This for me is something that it means a lot, man. Every single time we've known each other for a few years already. You were actually my first guest that I ever did when I said, "Hey, let me try out this podcast thing."
Mm-hmm.
You were my very first guest, and it's since that show, we've always had these conversations, man, where we're like, man, we should have recorded this, and this all coming together now, Kay. It's awesome, dude. I've been super excited for this.
So for those that are unaware, and by and large, I see a few folks dropping into the chat there. There's a reason I didn't promote this. This is episode 0. This is supposed to be a shit show, as they say,
Yep.
and the real show won't have swearing, but this is episode 0. So I'm gonna swear.
This is
But
the
we're here.
alpha version, huh?
This is the alpha version. That's right.
Not
That's
even the
right.
beta. We haven't reached the
There's
beta.
Exactly. There's no intros. There's no
Hmm.
none of that. This is just quick and dirty. This will when it's all said and done, this will be an hour podcast. And yes, I see you, Nix. Welcome,
Yep.
sir. Welcome to the
Next.
experiment. I see you, the man Neo Mental. What's going on, brother? And Lucius Augustus also. Thank you guys for checking us out. This is an experiment that we're doing that will eventually turn into something. And what will it eventually turn into? It should eventually turn into what we're probably going to call the Gamers Playground, which will be a podcast that's aimed at demystifying the monolith known as PCMR.
That's right.
Basically, long story short, we're hearing a lot of people talking a lot of BS about PC gaming. So we
I was
figured, you know
there,
what?
and that's the thing. I was one of them. I was
There
one of
you
them a
go.
few years back, so I totally
Yes.
understand. And with the many conversations that me and you have had throughout the years, man,
Mm-hmm.
and all the tips and all the troubleshooting and
Yeah.
all the times I've called you, hey, how do I do this? Hey, why isn't this working? Hey, where do I
Mm-hmm.
find this? It's something, Kay, that there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Exactly. So we want this to be a safe space, right? Well, my favorite saying is the man that knows something knows he knows nothing at all. So that means you can always learn something more, right? Sometimes you guys will teach me something. Sometimes maybe I'll teach you guys something. I want this to be a safe space where you can learn either dip a toe into the PC waters, or if you know what you're doing, teach others how to dip a toe into said PC waters. But you know, so that we round out the idea of what this is all about, let's start with you, John Wolf. How do you come into PC gaming? And I know yours is interesting, so that's why we're starting with you. What brings you into PC gaming? And of course, these days, PC gaming is Steam, right? There
Right.
are many other stores out there, but the main deal is Steam. So, what brings you to PC gaming to the point where you go, "Hey, I want to consider myself now a quote unquote PC gamer"?
Yeah, it's where I've done primarily my gaming. A bit. The console side is still very special. Where when you get home from work, if you don't want to be behind the PC, it's nice to be able to turn on your Xbox and just go. Which that's nice. But something happened a few years ago, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
something is called the Steam Deck. Okay, and I remember a year ago. when I was fortunate enough to be one of the first K in the community to get the Steam Deck, if you remember that,
I
I
do.
I I I'm like, all right, let me give this PC gaming thing a shot. I wanna see what all these PCMR elitists are always talking about, all that good stuff. I'm like, how
Yeah.
good can it be? Let me guess, if I want to play Halo Infinite, how many drivers am I gonna have to download? All that good stuff, right? That's kind of like the mind frame that I was coming in, and dude, quickly, I got the Steam Deck and I hated it. Remember? I hated it, man, because it felt like, oh man, I'm so used to the Xbox ecosystem, something just, like something familiar. I'm used to it. I'm used to console gaming. I just want to turn on my system and play. I don't want to download stuff. I don't want to learn how to do stuff. I was kind of like in that mind frame. But what
Mm-hmm.
happened is that I sold off that Steam Deck, and then you convinced me I was on one of your shows and we had a lengthy talk about the Steam Deck, and I was like, you know what, Kay, let me give it one more shot. I think I kind of sold that prematurely. I kind of fell in love with the flipping aspect of it, of how much it was selling for. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
let me give it a fair shot, and I did, and I haven't looked back since, man. I purchased the PC, eventually get it. I eventually had a 3070, RTX 3070, and that's really where things opened up for me, where I was like, oh, now I'm starting to kind of understand what
It
this is
started
all
clicking
about.
for you. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. and
Okay.
then and then what happened is that my gaming habit started to revolve around the PC and the Steam Deck, where it was nice to be able to start a game on the PC, right? And then mess around with all the bells and whistles, and it introduced like this whole new side of gaming I've been gaming since I was a little kid. All right, my
Mm-hmm.
first system was the NES. Never before had I ever gone into a game and said, hey, you know what, let me tweak things here to my liking. Hey, you know
Yeah.
what, I want more frames. Hey, I understand what frames are now. I understand what that buttery smoothness is all about, what all these people used to talk about. And once you dive in as a gamer, it's kind of hard to go back, to be honest with you, because
Interesting. Okay.
once you taste it, you're like, oh man, when the red falls of the world come out at 30 FPS.
Oh, don't
All
don't don't
right.
get don't get slanderous already. Like, oh,
No, 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 it's not a knock on the game. I know
Uh
there's a
huh.
lot of people that are enjoying the game. It's not a knock on the game, but I'm just saying that that is the limiting factor of the console world,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that this is the first generation where I've fully understood what it's like to game across multiple platforms, cloud gaming. I bought a couple of cloud gaming devices. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, the Steam Deck and the PC right now is the ultimate one-two combo in gaming, and that's something that I'll challenge anyone, during the any day. That it is, to me, the ultimate one-two combo, and that's really how I've gotten here, Kay. And I've been learning. I've
Okay.
been picking your brain with stuff. The
Yeah.
Asus ROG coming soon, so exciting times,
Yeah,
brother.
we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth before the end of this episode. But no, okay, okay,
Yeah,
that is
and
interesting.
sorry I was a
Interesting.
little long-winded there. It's just that I
No,
kind
no,
of
not at
wanted
all,
to.
not at all, not at all. That's what we're here for, man. We're here to have those conversations, and your story, more than mine, is super interesting anyway. Because I've just always been into PC stuff. I've been in PC stuff ever since I was a kid. It's PC and music. Music led me to PC. PC led me to video games and all that stuff. I've
Yeah,
been technology for a long time, living in various countries. If you want to know the full scope, go check the ILP episode way back when I was on there.
yeah. I remember we talked
But
about that too
yes,
on when I interviewed you. I remember that.
yes, absolutely. But yes, so I've been building computers since I was like 10, 12 years old. Like, back in the days when like, barely a gig cost $400 of RAM. So,
Nice.
but now, yeah. So these days, my experience with it is more about to what you're describing about how it opens the doors for you to be able to really want to tweak things your way. Uh, I've always found it interesting when people say, "Hey, this is a PC game. Hey, this is a console game. Hey, this is a mobile game. Hey, this is," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you start gaming on all these various things and you find that you can play that one game on every device that you own, those games no longer become the name of the platform, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
a quick example, right? A quick example, and we're gonna get into these kind of things on this show for those who want to know. Uh, uh, Tears of the Kingdom, right? It's out
Hmm.
now. People are playing it. They're having a good time. If you know what you're doing, you can dump the emulator. You can dump the game files, strip out the encryption, and play it on an emulate through emulation on many devices. Right.
Right.
So I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom on the Steam Deck. I have a 3080 machine that I've been playing it on, and a 4090 machine that I've been playing it on, as well as the Switch as well, right?
Yeah.
When you start experiencing a game like that, all of a sudden it's not a Switch game anymore. It's a game that you just happen to be playing on the Switch, and then now I'm playing it on the console, and then now I'm playing it
Right.
on.
And
You know what I'm
and
saying?
I got you. And as an enthusiast, right? Because that's what caught
Mm-hmm.
me early on. One of my favorite games is Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh,
Okay,
great game. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I absolutely love that game. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember that I was like, oh man, I'm so happy that this is available on the Xbox through backwards compatibility, whatever case
Mm-hmm.
may be. Dude, I remember the first time that I played it on the PC. It was
Yeah.
basically a free remaster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. Yes.
and and
Yes.
that's really the first game that got my attention. That I was like, whoa, wait a second. There's more to this than I thought here. It's
Yeah.
not just that I'm playing the same games that I was playing on my Xbox. This is legitimately a free remaster that they would be charging
Yeah.
me probably $70 on Xbox to play today. And ever since
Well,
I
I
was like,
mean,
wow.
to be fair, Xbox doesn't charge you for those upgrades, but that's
Well,
neither
that's
here
true.
nor
That's
there.
a good point. That's a good point.
We're getting slanderous already. Let's not go there. Let's
That
not
that
go
that's a good
there.
point. But
But I hear
it's
your point. You do make a good point, though. Yes, the
the
upgrades
enthusiast.
that come with the hardware on PC tend to be upgrades that they market to you as a upsell on the console side, which obviously we,
Exactly.
we don't want, right? Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. Oh, so before we continue, let me quickly say shout out to all the great community members that are already in here, showing their respect and showing their support. We appreciate you, sirs and women of all kinds in here. Thank you so much for being here. Lucius Augustus is in here. I love his statement here. He says building PC back in the day was insane. Now it's just a jigsaw puzzle to build a PC. Yeah, man. Now you just put it together. You can't come accidentally plug a cable into the wrong slot. You just can't. You build it the way it's meant to be built. And the first time you hit the power button, you no longer have to pray that something has to be redone. So I built the PC, rebuilt the PC not too long ago, and I'm from the old school back in the day when it was actually a struggle to build a PC. So I'm
Mm.
done now. I put it all together. I hit play and it actually turns on, and I'm like, oh my god.
I
Because back in the day, it was so difficult getting them things to turn on because you
yes.
forgot something. Oh, this stupid little thing, this dip switch wasn't switched correctly, so now you have to go back through the manual. But yeah, now it's just a jigsaw puzzle.
Well, I was
Absolutely,
there. I
absolutely.
was there. I was there a year ago, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
even though that things have become more streamlined, right? As you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I made a huge mistake. I bought pre-built, right?
Oh
That's I
yeah,
went
yeah.
pre-built because again, remember console mentality. Okay, so I bought
Yes.
pre-built, and then my motherboard just took a dump on me
Mm.
on my first month. So I was like, all right, what do I do with this thing? I can't return it. It's out of warranty already. I can't just go back to the store or whatever. So let me call the manufacturer. They send me a new motherboard by the mail, and I had to replace this thing. I was like, what do you mean I have to replace it? They're like,
You
yeah,
have
or
to
you
do
can
your
take it
own
back.
brain transplant.
So I was like,
Yes,
you know what? I can figure this out. If I can change the oil in my car, I can figure this out. You know what
that's
I'm
right.
saying? And I got my
Yep.
hands dirty, and dude, through trial and error and all that good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I did it, and I appreciated it. So that's the thing, when you start with the tweaking and the building and getting your hands dirty, you
Yeah.
kind of grow a love for it.
Well, but you know what though? I will actually even and let me bring this back to what this show is about. I will even say just like what Lucius Augustus's expert point here about it now just being a jigsaw puzzle versus how insane it used to be. That is the basis of PC gaming now. Back in the day, the tweaking and stuff was mandated. It was necessary, right? And that's what this show is all about. It is here to basically let folks know that that mandate no longer exists.
It's true.
All right, there are people who can be quote unquote PC gamers who don't know their FPS ass from from their FSR elbow, right? And you
Right.
don't need to anymore. All you need to do is hit play, and the thing will just play. If you choose to want to start tweaking, if you choose to be all about the, hey, how can I push it one way versus another way, then yes, the waters can get pretty deep. But it's great to game on PC these days because it is to me, as I've seen it, it's the most hybrid of all the platforms now. You get a lot of the conveniences of the console as well as the performance and the control of the PC that you want. So
Yeah.
hopefully, and with the support of the community, you guys are always supporting us, and we appreciate that. Hopefully, you guys can help us solidify what this can be. I want to do tutorials if necessary. I want to do tip shows. I want to do ask anythings. I want to do I want this to be a place where, hey, if you're not a big PC person, or you've heard that PC is all about driver installs and you can never play on time and blah 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 blah, here's where you can come and ask a bunch of PC players. We won't be ridiculous with the PCMR BS, because that's what that is. Let's be honest, right? And we'll give you some straight answers, right? Sometimes the PC is a pain in the butt. Sometimes the console is a pain in the butt. And that's why we're calling this show the Gamers Playground, not the PC Gamers Playground, not the VR Gamers Playground, not the handheld Gamers Playground. It's the general Gamers Playground.
Exactly.
Because if you play on console, you could pick up an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller, and it just so happens to be that it's Bluetooth to a PC, and you're playing the same game. It's not that complicated.
Gaming bliss is honestly, if you're blessed enough to be able to own multiple consoles, man,
Yeah.
gaming bliss is where you're able to sit down on your PC, play at the most extreme settings that you can possibly go, and then want a change of pace and say, hey, today I want to turn on the Series X, and I'm
Yeah.
okay sitting in front of in front of the big screen and
Yeah.
sacrificing the little things, because of the convenience factor. When you
Exactly.
reach that gaming bliss, man, there's nothing like it.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So, okay, let us move forward. Let's move forward. So, this show, we're going to try and make it a concise show, no more than an hour if we can, because if we set it up on a Monday night, we want to prime the pump so you can go catch X and C with the man, the mag, and Colt Eastwood. So we won't belabor the point too long, but let's get into some, because, and by the way, just so you folks know, our episode 0, all thought of, concepted. Mr. John Wolf took a lot of time, putting some show notes together, some ideas that he wants to do. He's more entry level into PC than I am, so I kind of want him to drive this, because then it becomes useful for somebody who might not have certain things. Hey, how do we do this? How do we get here? So John, although I will host based on your ask, I will lean on you to give us some of that flavor of maybe, hey, because for me, I've been playing on PC for like a long time, so it's I never thought it was different. I never thought it was a different language. It was just gaming, right?
Yeah.
But being a part of this community as I am now, I have come to that realization that those who don't game on PC, it becomes a bit of a lift, right? It becomes a bit of an uplift, right? So
Absolutely.
hopefully we can use this to break down some of those barriers. But let's get into topic 1. You picked 2 topics for us this week, and we'll generally have 1 or 2 topics in addition to a few odds and ends here that I want to add into the mix as well. And we appreciate everybody that's already in this chat. I see just 13, 14 people in the chat. I did no promotion. We're doing absolutely none of that. This is literally episode 0. Right, so we're here making this work, and if there are any issues, we're gonna put duct tape on it and keep it moving right now. Right,
we got to update the drivers.
That's right. We have updates we need to make.
That's right.
But eventually, you'll see this thing be as nice as all the other shows that we've been a part of and all that as well.
Yeah,
so,
and that first topic that we're gonna tackle now, I thought it was important, especially with the relevancy of that Asus ROG coming out. So we'll get into it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We really want to talk handheld because that seems to be breaking down some PC barriers for those who are
Hmm.
non-PC people, which is interesting. So, but let's start with topic one. Topic one, you want to talk about handhelds. You're telling me that the Valve has ushered in a new. Is it the question that Valve has ushered in a new era of PC handheld gaming with the Steam Deck, right? And of course now we see the ROG Ally is coming out. For those who aren't aware, before there was ROG, before there was Valve with the Steam Deck, there have been Ion Neo. They have a slew of very cool devices. You've
Yep.
probably never heard of them because they charge full PC prices. So for the price tag of what for the hardware of what is now known as a Steam Deck, you used to be able to get an Ion Neo. I forget the names of all the variations they have, but it would have probably cost you almost $1,000.
And they're
That was
crowd
their
funded
price,
too, and they're usually
and they
crowd
tend to be
funded.
crowdfunded. Exactly,
Right.
exactly, exactly. So with the Steam Deck and a platform holder that Valve is behind it now, it seems that we're now in an era where people are really, really going to start seeing and taking this segment seriously, right? So I guess the question is, do we think this is a new paradigm that we weren't aware of, and now what, 6 years, 7 years from now, everybody thought the PCs were going to get bigger, more powerful, or consoles were going to be this way or that way, but no, it's all going to be handhelds. Is
I,
that where we think the
I,
world's going to?
I really do think so, okay, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll let you know why.
Okay.
I keep an eye on, like, my daughter's 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
So she hates playing on consoles. She
Okay.
absolutely despises it. She has a Nintendo Switch Lite, and she never plays with the thing. She just wants to be on the iPad or on my
Mm-hmm.
phone all the time, right? Playing Roblox, or whatever the case may be. So I do think that the same way that we grew up, the me and you, the same way we grew up with the Xboxes, with the PlayStations of the world, Nintendos, of course, the Sega
Mm-hmm.
Genesis. I think that this generation is growing up with iPads and iPhones and stuff, and things like that. So we are moving towards that portable that portable age. And I think that a device like the Steam Deck, what it's done, right, and what it continues to do, is that it's giving people like me the console um feel, and it's giving me the comfort to say, you know what, let me give this a try, because it looks familiar to me. It looks like it's a console experience. That's what I'm used to. Let me give this a try. And I see the younger generation pushing on PCs. Okay, I just visited South Korea a few weeks ago. They're all about PC over there, man. They don't really care about consoles at all. I mean, they do have a market for it, but they're all about PC over there. And you see them all walking around with handhelds and stuff like that. And I do think that as time progresses, devices like the Asus ROG, like the Steam Deck, and like the ones you named off, that is what I think people are going to be gaming on in like 10 years, to be honest with you. And I think that and Nintendo did something very smart with the Switch, which was
Mm-hmm.
they said, let's make a hybrid of our of the 3DS with all the success of our handhelds, and then let's also give them a docking option. And I think that that was genius, because you kind of married the two things. And I think that that's honestly the future that we're heading into.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So you think that in 10 years from now, we'll be like, wow, 10 years ago when somebody told us that it was going to be all handheld gaming all the time, we would have not believed it, but here we are. You really do think that there will
I think
that there
so.
will be a now while I think that's interesting, and I see Lucius Augustus in the chat, and of course Lucius and a bunch of the folks that support us, so intelligent, very smart individuals talking about how the chipsets in the APU markets are actually opening the door to allowing for more handheld markets, to let the handheld market flourish, since the big high end stuff, diminishing returns are happening right there, right? So you can drop the size down, and now you have a lot more of a lucrative market, because you're addressing the 1080p market, and not everything has to be a 4090. Super
Right.
interesting ideas. My
Right.
question though is, and this is not something that we can necessarily unpack and explain here, but where I think this will live or die is battery technology,
Oh, that's a
because
great point. Yep.
while because what they're kind of doing right now in the handheld space is retreading desktop ground, right? Because back in the day, your amazing handheld hardware of today used to be your amazing desktop hardware of yesteryear, right?
Yep.
Back in the day, that was as much as it could be done. The type of power that the Steam Deck and all these things are doing now, right? That's all you could get, even from a full desktop PC. So they've treaded all this ground already, right? Now they're going back over it, but with an eye for thin and light, so you can do it in a handheld format. So
Right.
that's all lucrative and all fun. But the problem is, what about battery tech? It seems that since way back in the day, they've hit a limit of bigger battery, more battery juice for you. They have not been able to optimize the battery so you have less of it and it does more, right?
Yeah, we're kind
Which
of it's still in the stone age of the battery tech.
exactly.
Yeah.
It just you even with cars, right? A Tesla, you want to have a bigger battery, you need it to be a heavier car, because they need to add more of the lithium ion batteries in. The
Mm.
idea of intelligent battery tech seems to have not gotten to a point where now we're seeing some innovations. It's just the same old a horse and buggy technology of yesteryear that's being pushed forward
Let
over
me
and over and over.
let me while you make a great point, and I think that that is a valid concern, especially with some of the reviews that are coming out from the ROG.
Yeah.
I do think though that what needs to be leveraged here by any company that is looking to aim at this market is they need to look at these super sampling methods. Okay, because
Okay.
the more that they invest into that and innovate in that space, in my opinion, you're going to be able, in let's say I don't know how many years times worth, be able to play a 1080 a 1080p image on a Nintendo Switch. But again, that chipset that they create, let's say Nvidia, with their CPU, GPU, whatever they create, they're gonna need to really innovate in that space so that they can keep the wattage down but give you that upscaled image. And I think
Oh
that
yeah,
if
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
do
Yeah.
that, if they can really learn to kind of hit there, I think that we'll be onto something.
No, no, no. You're right, and as usual, the smart folks in the chat weighing in, and they're absolutely right. And it's not for a lack of trying, right? As the silicon race moves forward, and they keep getting better CPUs and better GPUs and better optimization and better yields and all of that, they're also still trying to have breakthroughs in battery life as well. It's just they just have not been as successful on that side as they have been in GPU and CPU technology and all of that. But
Agreed.
yeah, as
Agreed.
long as they keep pushing forward, there is a hope that at some point, at some point in the life cycle, in our lifetime, we're going to see a battery that actually does something that hey, now you can have all. When they say all day, they usually mean single digits. No, we
Yeah.
really mean all day. I want to see 24 hours and this thing is still active.
That'll be great, man.
That would be
And,
amazing.
and that's the thing about like cloud gaming devices. Like you have the Logitech G Cloud, right?
Yeah, I do.
I have the Razer Edge. When you're cloud gaming on that thing, it'll go longer than the Steam Deck. You know what I'm
Of
saying?
course.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's because of how much power you're drawing from it. So I think that it's all about that wattage, man. And they can kind of figure something out there,
Yeah.
and of course, the silver bullet will be just fix the battery tech. But in the meantime, I think that these are kind of like the innovations that we need to see in this
Yeah.
space.
No, I don't disagree with you. I really don't disagree with you. So on the topic of the handhelds in gaming, so Salute to the man, Mr. Everborn Saga. He, those who know, we host another show called the Gaming Circle Podcast. A lot of people know about that show. I'm sure if you're here right now, you probably know about that show. So salute to him. He and I talk a lot about this kind of gaming space. He's obviously more of a console gamer, and so he doesn't really play in the PC waters as much. But he and I were conversing, and we had and this came up, and it was a super interesting idea. We are now seeing what Valve is doing in this handheld space, and it seems to be really catching fire, and people are appreciating it.
I think so.
What do you think of the idea of exactly what they're doing right now, right? Because if you look at Valve, what they do is they came out with Steam machines, didn't get you anywhere. And for those who don't know, Steam machines were the idea that, hey, just like Microsoft is leveraged your HPs and your Dells and all those other companies to build gaming machines. How about we do the same thing, but use a flavor of Linux that then that Valve would then bless and give you reference designs and all this stuff. Needless to say, it didn't work out. People didn't want that. They wanted their Windows machines, right? So that
Right.
came and it fizzled out. They had Steam controllers where they had it's a controller, but it's so customizable and so usable. Actually, I think I have mine around here somewhere that you can literally use it to play. It's a controller, but it would play games that aren't meant for controllers.
They had
So
those
real time
trackpads.
strategies, exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
trackpads and all of that. Yeah, but I guess the point I'm making is all of their technology and all of their bad attempts get brought to bear on the next attempt, which is where are now with the Steam Deck. Same pads that are on the controller are on the Steam Deck. Same of the all those control schemes that people built for the controller are now being leveraged for the Steam Deck. The
Right.
Steam Machine reference design and ideas are what Steam OS and what Helios OS, which is what Steam OS's name is, that's what they're based off of now, right? So they learned all those things and they moved them forward. So the question I want to ask you is this: they're now primed to have a very great handheld competitor, right? They can do it without Windows while then cleaning it up so that it uses a process that does a go between and translates it to Linux so that the game can play, right? They call it it's an emulation layer, right?
Hmm.
What would you think if Valve then came out with a box instead of a handheld and it sits under your TV? Call it the Steam box. Exactly what the Steam Deck does today, right? Only no battery, obviously, and obviously because there's no battery, maybe AMD their relationship with AMD, they produce a custom SoC, a custom chip that literally can go balls to the wall because you don't have to worry about battery life anymore. Do you think that they would have something? Would people be like, "Whoa, this is it," or would they go, "Screw you! I love my PCs. I build my PC now. I don't want this thing." What do you think?
It's gonna depend on a couple of variables. Okay.
Mm,
The first one is the game compatibility, right? Like
mm-hmm.
how far can they push this proton layer to
Yeah,
work with many of the popular games? Because the
yeah,
thing is that if you don't have the big games on your soon to be, let's say, console-ish box,
mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may
Mm-hmm,
be,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're gonna.
and let's be clear, we're talking a console-like experience, not a
Right.
console experience. This is a
Correct.
console-like because it's literally what the Steam Deck does today. Meaning, if you want to go to the desktop, go ahead. You want to go to terminal and you want to start playing around and you want to really get intricate, you can do that. Anything and everything that Steam Deck does today, it would be a box there. And maybe you probably can upgrade your own RAM. You probably can upgrade your own storage. And hey, who knows? Maybe in six years or so, Steam releases a new variant that has a better SoC,
Yeah.
almost console like, but you can still do all the custom PC stuff you want.
I,
Would you buy into it?
I would be interested in it, depending, like
Yeah.
I said, on a couple of variables, right? Like that proton layer. I
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty invested into Steam right now, where I think that I would be interested, especially if they offer something like that. But it's gonna be all about what it is that they're offering that kind of differentiates them from the other boxes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so for them to be able to hit the masses to where they're really going to get someone to say, hey, should I get this instead of a PlayStation and an Xbox or a Nintendo console? Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, they're going to have to really hunker down on that game compatibility layer and really
Sure. Yeah.
smooth things out there. The second hurdle that they're going to have, right, is
Mm-hmm.
that I think that they're going to have to market this to people kind of like they did with the Steam Deck, which is, hey, we want to introduce you to PC gaming in an easy way, right? I think
Yeah.
that they need to do the same thing to kind of go after this market, that it's like, hey, have you guys ever been interested in building a PC but it's too hard, or you think it's too complicated, or whatever the case, or you don't have space, or whatever the case may be, or it's too expensive. That's another thing, because that's another stigma that I think PC gaming has, that I used to think all the time, man, it's too expensive, I'm never going to go
Mm-hmm.
there. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I think that if they
And you
leverage.
know what though? To your point about it being too expensive, today, right now, I'm not talking about a hypothetical world. Today, if you want, you can build your PC, and instead of using Windows, which will cost you a license, right? You can just install Helios OS and use the Steam Deck OS today on your desktop PC.
That's
It'll
true.
boot up just like a Steam Deck. It'll look just like a Steam Deck. You can Bluetooth it to an Xbox controller, and it's in your living room, and you're good. And
And you're
that'll be
good
a
to go.
big cost savings.
Yeah,
Don't know
like I
why more
said,
people don't do that.
I think that we've seen many people in the community hook up
Mm-hmm.
their Steam Decks to their TVs, to their
Yeah,
monitors. I think that they're slowly introducing this idea of just the Steam ecosystem, right? Because that's exactly what it is. It's the same way
yeah,
that Xbox is kind of leveraging their ecosystem so that you can buy in no matter what device you're in. I think that Steam is kind of doing the same thing, but what they're targeting is that novice user, that,
yeah.
hey, if you think that you need to access Steam through a PC, we're trying to change that. And we're going to change that through multiple facets, like the
Yeah.
handheld device, or what could be later down the line, like you're saying, this console like device, where it'll be intriguing to say, hey, guess what, in 4 years you won't have to buy a new box, you just have to upgrade your graphics card
Just
if you want to
chip
do
or
that.
whatever. Yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly.
So,
Although to play devil's advocate to this hypothetical world that I'm this picture I'm painting here, I would assume, I would imagine that Valve looks at Microsoft, Valve looks at PlayStation, looks at Nintendo, and says, I don't want any of that headache, right?
it,
A game comes out, Redfall comes out, it's buggy as hell. Microsoft has mud in their eye. Whenever a game is buggy and messy on Steam, they blame the developer. They never blame Valve, right?
yeah.
And if you make a console-like experience where you're promising a complete beginning, middle, and end experience for your end user inconvenience, and something goes wrong, then they're coming after you. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. The thing is that, remember, the thing that all these companies are after are
Mm-hmm.
users.
Yeah.
Okay? So they need to really get creative on how to bring more users into their ecosystem, unless you're the PlayStation right now, which they are kind of in a identity crisis, where their company is hardware focused. Like, that's in
Yeah.
their DNA. Their
Of course. Yeah.
DNA says, we need to sell you some type of hardware to get you into our ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's different about Steam and Xbox, right? As two different companies here, and Nintendo is kind of in that same boat as Sony. What's different about Steam and Xbox, about these ecosystems, is that now they need to figure out how to outreach, and how can we get more people intrigued to come in and buy off the Steam store, for example.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
so to Nix's point in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Valve is super happy with the ROG Ally. Like, they're
Yeah.
excited because they know
Because it
that
all points to their app
it,
store.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's
And,
more
and
users for them.
And to Nix's other question, he's asking, how about a Steam Link set-top box that works in the cloud? Kind of, the Steam Link was that, right? It was
Yeah,
connected to, the Steam Link was set up to connect to Steam servers, which is in the cloud. But ultimately, the software stack was far more performant than the hardware was, so they retired the hardware. But
right.
okay, I do think you make a good point. It's an interesting place that we find ourselves with all of that. and we're gonna have to kind of keep a close eye on it. And one thing that I'm really excited about is the idea that it should make platform holders more eager to please in that realm. And what I mean by
Yes,
that is,
yes,
you
yes.
know, like, I want, and I've said this before, my whole, I don't care about Valve. I don't care about Asus and their ally. I want Microsoft to build either either copy the Xbox UI or build a new UI that's Xbox like and put it in their Play Store. So if you, whoever you happen to be, go and get yourself a handheld that runs Windows. You install this thing, and now you have a great UI. Oh, and by the way, it makes accessing Game Pass in the store super easy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
So
it's
so that's
in
what's
their best interest to put it out there, and it makes all the other hardware manufacturers happy because now every UI looks great because Microsoft, the OS, provides that UI rather than
correct.
everyone doing their own little hodgepodge weirdness. You know what I'm saying?
You're 100% correct, but I'll tell you what. The good thing about this kind of we're on the baby stage of this right now, right?
Yeah.
The good thing about where we're at today is that you have people like me that kind of you're not forced to tinker because it's so streamlined at the moment that you can download something, like the GeForce experience where
Yep.
everything
It'll do it
gets
all for you. Yes,
it'll do it all
absolutely.
for you, right? It'll set up your
Yep.
game
Yep.
with the best settings based on, the community and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, someone like, and not to pick on him, but someone like Mr. Boomstick that I've heard before say, "Oh, I'm not really a tinker. I'm kind of old school, and
Yeah.
I'm
Not
kind of
not not
that."
everybody's a tinker
And,
like
and
that.
not
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I wasn't like that like a couple of years ago, right? The thing is that it did, like, the raw guy like device. As soon as people purchase that and they see that it's basically what you're basically buying is a PC, okay? Because that's
Yes.
exactly what it
100%.
is.
That's all it is. It's a
So
PC. Yeah.
so from the get go, from the time that you're setting up this sucker, you're gonna have to probably download Game Pass. You're probably gonna have to download Steam, all this good stuff. And I think that that's when it's gonna click to people and say, "Hey, you know what? This isn't as bad as I thought it was." Okay.
Okay. So, all right, let's move forward because
Sure.
we have 20 minutes left, and I want to get to topic number two
Yeah.
because I think that's also super important, and it's interesting to frame it on our episode 0. But before we get there, let me take a quick detour because that's what we'll do on this show. We'll do some pro tips, some a little detour here and there to give you some thoughts that we've had, or some things that we think is beneficial that you should know. And on this maiden voyage, I thought, you know what? If we're talking pro tips, let me talk a little bit deals.gg. I don't know if you're. I know, Mr. John Wolf, you are definitely aware of
Oh yeah.
deals.gg. But for those who may not be aware of deals.gg, it's basically deals.gg. You go there and you type in anything you want to type in, any game you want to play in the ecosystem. And they do consoles as well, but mainly since there are so many PC stores, it aggregates the cheapest scores out there. As I speak right now, while before we started the show, I was like, "Hey, let me think of a good pro tip that I can throw into the show." And I happened to find deals.gg, and I went there, and I was like, "Holy crud! I've been wanting to buy Need for Speed Unbound for a while now." I actually thought that the style was pretty eclectic and interesting. I played that 10 hours of EA Play because of the Game Pass subscription, and then some other game took my attention, and I veered off and did something else. Now, today, as I look here, as recently as 5 hours ago, Need for Speed Unbound in these here United States are $20.99.
Yep.
So I'm definitely gonna go buy that as soon as we're done here, because it
Yeah.
was
And
$60 when it came out, and I think it's 70 even, and
yeah.
now it's $20.
And,
But
and
there you
that's
go.
and that's the thing, right? One of the hot topics this generation has been that games got bumped to $70. Okay.
Yeah,
Not for nothing, we'll pay for what we feel is
yeah,
justified. However,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
this is another little thing that kind of got me into the whole PC space, that I started noticing that even before a game is released on Steam, you can go to
Mm-hmm.
GG Deals, like you said here, CD
Yep.
Keys, or whatever the case may
Well,
be.
I specifically chose deals.gg for a reason because it aggregates all the others. So if a CD keys has the best deal, deals.gg will tell you that.
Oh, I learned that new today. You see, that's
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah. There's like many different deal sites that are out there, but this one aggregates all of them. So like today, like so for a quick example, like see as you're seeing it on the screen here, it says historical low and Need for Speed Unbound is the historical low. You click into it, and what is it? It's actually Steam themselves because Steam is having a sale, but it could be like all these other stores. There are all these other
There you go.
stores that all have different prices, and sometimes they're the best price out there. So,
It's
needless to say, you know, this is just to let folks know that if you're looking for a game, you're looking for a sale, you know, go to deals.gg, type in your game at the top. It searches all the various stores, even Xbox games, PlayStation games, doesn't matter what it is. Searches all the stores and gives you the best price possible.
And the last thing I'll say
Yeah.
about that is that
Mm-hmm.
in a few years' time, okay, I've grown my Steam library to over 200 games on the cheap.
Mm.
So I've
Mm.
gotten games for as low as $2, and the most I think I've paid for a game has been honestly in the 40s.
Let's not talk Steam libraries because I every time I talk about the Steam library, I feel defeated because there's an app. I forget the name of the actual. It's a web app. I forget the name of it, but I need to find it and put it on this show as well. It literally tells you how many games you have in your Steam library and how many lifetimes it would take you to beat them.
Oh, nice.
It'll take me 2 lifetimes, two
Oh,
full
jeez.
lifetimes to beat all the games I have on Steam.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, let's move on because because of the Steam sales, because of the humble bundles and all of that stuff that comes around. I have a lot of games, bro. I have a lot of games. But
Shout out
okay,
to
okay.
Mr. Dark in the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark. What's going on, sir? How you doing, man? How you doing? He actually, believe it or not, he was instrumental in helping me ideate on possibly building talking about a podcast that's related to PC. He
Oh, that's
as
awesome.
as an avid PC gamer himself. So thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark. Appreciate you.
He's
He
the
said the
he's the
sweet.
king of the mobile of the portable PCs, by the way.
He's also the king of the Switch apologist, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He gets sad. He thinks that an angel loses a wing every time somebody uses a Steam Deck or a PC to emulate Tears of the Kingdom. But
Oh,
that's neither
gotcha.
here nor there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right, let's go to topic 2 because we have like 15 minutes before the end of this show, and I want to keep it at an hour. This
We'll
is what
do
we're
it.
going to do this week.
We'll
All
get
right,
it done.
topic number 2: frame rates in gaming.
Hmm.
What are they? Why are they so important? What's so fundamental about them? Why is it that people keep talking 4K 1080p, all the P's, but it seems like now in 2023, frame rates tend to be what the hardcore keep talking about, right?
Yeah.
I guess my question to you on that is, and I know you've been as we've discussed, you dipped your toes in the PC waters. You're doing a lot more PC stuff these days. You've been a big Xbox gamer for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Has frame rates been a priority for you, like in the Xbox One days, in the Xbox 360 days?
No,
When did you start paying attention to frame rates?
not at all. The what turned me on to the whole frame rate discussion was actually Xbox's own marketing. Okay,
Mm,
they're the ones that were pushing for higher frames, and they got me to pay attention. All of a sudden, they were saying, "We you can play these games up to 120 FPS at the beginning of this generation." Okay,
mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So they're actually the ones that got me into paying attention to it and into saying, all right, what's up with this whole frame thing? Well, guess what? It led me to buy a monitor that was capable of reaching the 120 FPS and all that good stuff. And as I started playing these games, I started noticing the difference. It was when I started tinkering with the PCs though that it really all came together where I was like, oh, you know what? I could really tell the difference now because I would go back to games like Red Dead, okay, on the Xbox at 30. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I never noticed that before. How, how it's kind of like if you're flipping through a book, when you're playing the 30, and there's a lot of technologies.
Slideshows.
Yeah, it's like a slideshow, and there's a lot of technologies nowadays with TVs that kind of help with that, K, but it's still 30. And the thing is that I think that this is not, I never want to sound like an elitist or anything like that, but I have to be real, right? When the thing that disappointed me the most about Redfall being 30 frames per second, I'm on that camp that I understand why the Switch can only do 30 frames per second, because I understand what hardware I'm talking about. But when you see a game like Redfall, and it to me, the shortcomings of the 30 FPS, when I know what the hardware is capable of, that's what makes it hard to swallow. And I think that that's what many like myself that were heavily opinionated on the 30 FPS, it's not
Mm-hmm.
that we're trying to say, oh, we can't play a game at 30 frames, it's unacceptable, or I'm going to throw up or anything like that. It's just that the box can do a lot more. So when it comes to those things, I think that that's where this whole conversation kind of stems from. And there's been a lot of debate in the community. I want to see a lot of people now talking about Tears of the Kingdom. Are you going to play that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If I have to play it on a Switch, I know the limitations of this system. In fact, Nintendo.
You don't have to play it on the
No,
Switch,
no,
brother.
I
I'm
got you.
sorry.
I
I'm
got you. But I'm just saying. But I know the limitations of the hardware, and in fact,
Uh-huh.
Nintendo is even pushing their own hardware. So props to them on that. But that's kind of like where this stems from. And I think that in the year 2023, the question that I pose is 30 FPS acceptable in the year 2023? And in my opinion, it depends. It kind of depends on the situation and the system. And I think that also we've seen things like, I'll give you an example. Um, we've seen that these consoles, for example, and primarily the Xbox here, unfortunately, the tools that these consoles are equipped with aren't being fully utilized. So that's another knock against it. That it's kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Is it the devs? Is it the hardware? Is it the tools? Like, what is really going on here?
So that's the problem, right? When you're in a world where there are a lot of deep technical there's a lot of deep technical context, but you're also trying to message it to the consumer base who may not be as deep and technical as all that. That's where the waters get muddy. That's exactly what you're describing right now. So what is the problem here? Is it this? Is it that? It shouldn't matter to you as a consumer, right? You should just be able to get what you pay for, and that's that, right? But that's why we are here to talk to you about those speeds and feeds in the context, because they inform you as to why maybe you're not getting what you're getting, and there will be more time to expound on why that is, and a lot of it, we don't have their design documents in hand, so a lot of it a lot of it is just looking at what the situation is and making inferences based on what we know that tends to be. But I'll tell you, like, for example, for the example of Redfall, for example, and you're asking the idea of is 30 frames per second acceptable in the console space for now, right? You do realize that the remake of Metroid Prime ran at 60 frames per second in 2023. I think, yeah, that was released in 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
In
On the
2023
Abacus.
on the Abacus, right?
Yeah,
It's
on the.
it's exactly right. Basically, there's a path, and I always say this, and it's a very, very reductive and very, very simplistic way of explaining things, but I feel like that may be the best way of explaining it to somebody who may not understand any further. It's like a cup of water, right? That's what it is, like a cup of water, and the top, as much as it holds, are the resources you have for the game you're making, right? At some point when you're getting to the top of that bowl, of that cup of water, you will transition from 60 frames to 30. Right? Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, if you have enough resource overhead after you've built your game, you can run it at twice the speed, which is 60 frames per second, right? But if your ambition for your title and the assets you're using and the technology by which you're developing, you're not anticipating, you're not adhering to the fact that, hey, I need to render this twice as much, you'll hit 30, and 30 will be where you're lucky to get, because, oh boy, now we have to claw back some of these things to get resources to work.
Yep.
It's all about the decisions that you as the developer choose to make, right? Because even on the NES, the OG 1980 whatever NES, you had games running at 60 frames per second, right? You could have had them running at 30 frames per second and they would have looked better there, but Nintendo decided that the smoothness was more important. I feel like with the advent of advertising and TV and 4K and all of that, the developers are now, because of selling things, are making a more visual decision rather than the how it feels to play, because visual can be sold.
Yeah,
right? I can show you that it's 60 frames, and you'll go, "Oh wow!" 4K, and you'll go, "Wow! Look at the strands of hair. Look how the clarity and the details." Right?
Yeah.
But the loss will be that 60 frames per second, and you can't tell that loss until you're playing it. But you can definitely tell the loss if they give you 60 frames per second, but they give you a 1080p.
No, you're absolutely correct.
You know what I'm saying?
I've become a 1440p gamer. I'll play all my games at 1440p, even if I can boost it up to 4K. I prefer 1440p because it gives you that nice combination of 2K resolution plus all the frames that you can get. You know, without taking up all the resources that 4K needs. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that the problem is that they're so infatuated with the eye candy that they they're like, look, we need to show this off on a screenshot, and to your point, we can't. You're not gonna have hands on until it releases. So enjoy your 30 frames.
I feel like it's poisoning the well, because it's giving the consumer base, the general consumer base, language that they may not necessarily understand. So now you go 4K, 4K, 4K in that 4K direction. Now all of a sudden there's diminishing returns and you can't sell anymore. Now you're clawing back going, well, you don't really need 4K.
1440p, people.
1440p, you know, exactly.
That's what it's all about.
The minute you market 4K to the hilt and then claw back and go 1440p, now that same consumer will go, well, why are you giving me less? Because you've trained them that 4K is better than 1440p, which it's not, right?
Yeah,
it's a different use case for a different scenario, right? But hey, it is what it is. I see you in there, Mashano Loon. Shout out to the man, the developer, super developer, producer of many, many, many titles, Mr. Mashano Loon. I see him in there saying, oh, PC Master Race, I'm a console man. Greetings from this MacBook. Yeah, console man, my foot. This is a dude who bought a Series X and left it in the box for a year because he said there were no exclusives. I'm still holding your feet to the fire for that one, sir. I don't appreciate all that. The slander's coming for you. Anyway. But no, I appreciate you being here, man. Thank you for being here. This is really, really, really cool that you showed up. But okay. So this is the type of conversation that I kind of want to have on this show. I want the community to chime in if they can, right? I want you to come at us with interesting questions, things that maybe require us doing some of our research. Hey, you never understood what VRR is? Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? You don't know what VRS is? Let's talk about it.
We're also gonna tackle ray tracing, because that's a conversation we were having yesterday over the phone, me and you.
Yes. You want to handle what path ray tracing is, what ray tracing is, why it's special, why it's not, why it's snake oil, all that stuff, right? This should be a safe space where there's no gatekeeping. The PCMR BS is just that, BS. You know, it's a tongue-in-cheek way people express themselves. But by and large, all we are here are gamers who like to game on wherever we can, right?
Exactly.
I keep telling people, Ghostwire Tokyo looks amazing on PC. Do you know where I play it? I play it on the G Cloud, right?
There you go.
Streamed to the screen from a Series S.
Is that convenience factor? Is that convenience factor? You know, and sometimes,
Absolutely.
after you're working all day, the last thing you want to do is probably sit in your desk. So
sit on my desk. This is where I work. So sometimes I want to go play with the kids, and while I'm playing with the kids, I have a little bit of this inside. I
and
pause it
and
real quick,
and
and
that
yes.
and that's the thing, man. And this will kind of be funny, but I'm gonna say it anyways. You don't want missionary all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to change it up every now and then. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, on that note, I think we are right at the end of it now. We're
There you
at
go.
59 minutes, and Mr. Wolf decided to leave it on the most slanderous of notes.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
thank
You
you,
put
sir.
you put the cherry on top on that one.
There you go. There you go. So okay. We're done with this episode. Episode 0, the experimental episode, is in the books. Thank you guys for those who came and checked us out. Thank you for checking us out. I will keep this on. I'll keep this on the channel. People can come watch, critique, BS about it. It's a train wreck. We don't have all the stuff in place and all of that. That's how it was meant to be. We're looking to do bigger and better with the show. Maybe we'll get some folks that are more experts in the PC space to jump in and have conversations with us. Do some pro tips and things like that. Do some tutorials. Maybe do some handheld tutorials and videos and things. Lots of great ideas we have.
This is a place to learn, guys, and to honestly just come together, ask questions, and know and everybody here. You got novices like me, and then you got K Asante that he's been PC
We
gaming
all
for a
learn,
very long
man. We're
time.
all learning. We all
So
learn. We all learn something new every day. Trust me. Even though I've been gaming for a long time, it took me a long time before we go. I built the new PC not too long ago. I hadn't built a PC in 4 years. A lot had changed since the last time I built a PC. So I was sitting there shaking in my boots a little bit, during certain
nice.
times. So it's all good. We all learn together, So it's just the gatekeeping and the disingenuous narratives about PC that's just not necessary in
It's
this
not
space. So
true, guys. Trust
you,
me.
you know what I
I
mean?
I thought it was all all download drivers all day. I'm not
You
gonna
know.
get to play my game, and it's not that at all, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll leave it here, Mr. John Wolf. Before we go, where can people find you this week? What are you doing on the internet? What are you doing? How can they keep up with all the things you do?
Yeah, guys, hit me up on Twitter, John Wolf, exactly how it's spelled there. Hit me up on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, guys. Anytime you guys want to play something, strike up a conversation. I'm always, throughout while I'm working, I'm listening to podcasts and just going back and forth on Twitter. Sometimes putting slanderous stuff. Today was a good day with the EU. You know what I'm saying? So a
Yes,
lot
sir.
of a lot of trolling going on today.
Yeah, I read your news feed, sir. A lot of trolling going on there today. Yes. Okay. Okay. And as for me, TKO Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, all the places you want to find me. We're looking for this episode specifically is looking for your feedback, listener and or viewer of this content. We want to make it better. We want to make it different. Please put a comment up, hit the like button. Want to make it better, want to make it something that you can use as a resource if and when you want to dip your toes into the PC waters. But until then, don't worry about it. Join the playground. The PC waters are fine. Eventually, there'll be an outro here. But since this is the episode 0, there's no intro, there's no outro. We just gonna say peace and say
Thanks,
goodbye.
guys. Thanks.